Hi guys, welcome back to this week's review of Global News. My name is Sasha Sangale and this is Room 11 News. Let's get into it. We kick things off with news right here from Nairobi, where we are witnessing the greatest movement ever by Kenyan youth protesting the 2024 finance bill that is slated to be passed in parliament today. These protests that started on the 18th of June right here in the central business district of Nairobi have spread throughout all of the 47 counties. And after weeks of marshalling on social media, the youth finally stepped out and said they're not going to be silent anymore. And they finally put their word to action and they went to the street and got their voice heard. These protests we are witnessing are as a result of the crippling taxes that the government is intending on imposing on the citizens of the country. Some of these taxes included taxes on bread, diapers, and sanitary pads. But these levies were later on dropped after the citizens pressured their MPs into doing away with them. But this does not mean the entire finance bill would be dropped. So why is this finance bill so contentious? And despite some of the clauses being amended, why are we still finding that the finance bill is dangerous not only for we, the Kenyan citizens, but also for foreign investors? So let's talk origin for a minute. The Kenya Kwanza comes into government and they're taking stock, as any government would do. And they're looking around and they are saying, we have crippling debt. We cannot manage, we cannot cope. The only way we can raise money so that we are less dependent on foreign countries is we are going to have to increase some prices in this country and we're going to have to increase taxes on various items. Now this is what has caused a problem. And then was born the finance bill. In an attempt to solve Kenya's problems, the citizens of this country said, this is not the way to do it. You cannot do it now because things are as bad as they can get. This is the reality of the youth in Kenya right now. So many of us are out here with our degrees and our PhDs and our bachelors in media and science and technology, but there are no jobs for the youth. The youth are out here walking around literally tamaking with brown envelopes in which they carry their documentation. They carry those accolades they have, they carry their certificates, they carry all the certification, and they go and literally line up in private offices, government offices, and they are told there are no vacancies. So as financial logic would call, you as a government can only tax what your people can afford to buy. So if you already make the bare necessities unaffordable, you're literally killing your people. So now we understand where the frustration of the youth is coming from. The little that they can afford, the bare minimum that they can afford, is going to be taken away from them. Now, this is where the Occupy Parliament protests started. And it's not only the finance bill that's the issue. There has been an entire catalog. There could be an entire catalog, an entire encyclopedia of Kenyans' issues before this finance bill. If you remember, even during COVID, we had a scam, the KEMSA scam, where a lot of money went missing. And then after that, we had the sugar scam. And then after that, we had the fertilizer scam. And then after that, we are being told that MPs were just flying out of the country. Government officials were just flying out of the country the way they want, spending public money on private trips. So despite things not getting better and this finance bill being introduced, the youth said enough was enough. And we're not going to let this country be run as it has been in the past. For the first time, we've seen the youth say we have to be included on the table when decisions are going to be made. So I think now we understand what was special about these protests. The youth, the Gen Z of this country, came out in their massive numbers on Tuesday morning with a stern and firm message to the government. You will not run our country as you want. It needs collective effort and negotiations with your people on a round table. Contrary to the protests in the past, where the opposition politicians have been blamed for mobilizing people and paying them to protest, this time there was no motivation from any political party or political leader. It was a nation of future leaders the Gen Zers that are fed up with the way things are being done by the government. This protest is a reflection of the struggles we as the Kenyans have always gone through, and the leaders that we have elected, these leaders, the fact that we are constantly being ignored and being ridiculed by the same government. We have said enough is enough. And as my mom would always say, you cannot eat and wipe your mouth on the floor, which basically means you eat and become ungrateful. You insult the same people who gave you food. Our politicians are eating our resources and are in return puking on our dignity and our sanity. And by the time you get to this point where the youth are fed up, bruh, you've messed up big time. These protests define a new age of civil involvement and movement by the youth that can be spurred and fueled by the injustices waged on we, the Kenyan people. In the words of our MP Ledama Olekina, you are taxing our own lands as if we are foreigners. And he's right. And even if you're to tax foreign investors, you cannot do it to an extent where you in turn chase away all the foreign investors because they find Kenya as an unfertile ground to invest in. You have to first bring the investors, show them that this is a fertile ground to invest in before you start introducing taxes. You don't introduce taxes right at the door, right at the airport, where people are forced even to declare if you've bought anything from outside. You start paying taxes at the airport. If you've bought a phone, you've bought shoes, you start paying taxes for them. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we cannot bear to be silent anymore, as government officials spend millions of dollars on foreign travel, private planes, expensive Swiss watches, Range Rovers, and stately dinners, while Kenyans are only able to afford one square meal a day, not even two, 1 square meal a day. And I am really grateful to my age mates and our comrades and our future leaders, the people of my generation, drawn from all over the country, that stood up not only for themselves, but for every single person in Kenya. The mama mboga, the mtu wa pikipiki, the mtu wa kuuza pale kwa kiosk. They did not discriminate, but they did not select. They represented us all. And as the police continue using excessive force to deal with peaceful protesters, that says a lot about this country, that says a lot about the leadership. And I hope everyone out there will keep their eyes open, because change is coming and they will accept the change. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content on Room 11 News, please leave a like, subscribe, share, or follow. And until I see you on the next one, peace.